Hello and welcome to This Old TJ. On today's project list, I am going to be refreshing my steering linkage. A few weeks ago while driving, it suddenly started feeling very loose, and upon further examination, I discovered this. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on here. The adjusting clamp does appear tight on the tie rod inside, but where it actually adjusts to the drag link, there is like all kinds of movement. So I have ordered a replacement unit from Currie, and upon its arrival discovered that it requires a minimum of a 2-inch bump stop increase, and not wanting to pull springs out at this point to drill the pad mounts and everything else, I looked for another option until I'm ready to put my lift kit on here. So today I'll be installing the Jeep ZJ upgrade, which I will show all the part numbers for here. And these are all Mastercraft part numbers that I ordered online from O'Reilly's and was able to pick up on the same day. So first up, I'm going to start by removing all the cotter pins, which there are going to be 3 here. We got one on the pitman arm, and then we will have one on each tie rod end at each wheel. They're pretty straightforward if you've never removed one of these things before. It's pretty much bending back the pieces that are wrapped around the nut, and they don't have to be perfectly straight. You just have to get them bent back enough you can get a pair of pliers, or if you don't have those, some diagonal side cutters. Usually work pretty well for gripping these things and getting them to pull free. Unless you get one like I just encountered here, where the rounded end is wedged back inside of the castle nut itself. So to deal with this one, I'm going to go grab a pick to get a good grab on it. And I'm back with my least industrial pick that I have. This one comes from Harbor Freight and was probably one of their free giveaways at some point in time. That one was able to get it loose. And that one was enough to get it out and where I get pliers on it. So with a pair of pliers, out it comes. And the replacement parts, at least the ones I ordered, did come with these, all except this actual tie rod bar, which had been a return. So it came pre-greased with unknown grease, the grease dirt only partially inserted, and no cotter pin. So before you start the job, you may want to ensure you've accounted for all your pieces and parts, or you're going to end up taking a separate trip. So now we'll move over to the passenger side, then we'll be ready to start pulling the nuts. Alright, it's hard to see here without better light, but the passenger side is not in there nearly as sturdy as the driver's side was. So again, I'll use my pick to see how much I can get it started outwards. And then just reach in with a small pair of channel locks, flip it around where I can get a good bite on it, and try and pull it out without busting my hands into anything that's going to leave a mark. And this seems to be the way it goes with every Jeep job. There's always that one piece that doesn't move quite as well as it should. And there we go. So now into nut size. It's looking like that is going to be a 19. So I will have to go grab a short 19 and we will get that pulled off of there. Next, I'm back, and this is actually a 3/4 inch. So you got to thinking there's a chance that's what it could be, and it appears that it is, which a 19 does fit. Now that it's broken loose, I'm going to go and use my 19 to pull the thing off here. And it appears that trying to do this with the wheel still on and anchored on the ground to keep from losing much of my alignment may pose to be problematic, as there's not much room for clearance there. But this is where a nice 19 or 3/4 inch ratcheting wrench would be really nice. Alright, I'm gonna go see what else I have to work with this. I come with a short ratchet, which I'm hoping gives enough room to get this off without binding up on the wheel. Oh, look at that. Got it up enough to get it off there. Next, we will be on to the steering stabilizer, which is located right above the track bar. So you can see the bolt right here. And on the back side of that, I believe it has a nut, which yes, it does. So it looks like a 15mm. So I'm hoping that means the back side will be a 15. So off for the next wrench and an extension. So next challenge, figuring out exactly best position for the backing wrench, which oddly enough doesn't seem to be the same size as the bolt head. Let's see if we can break it loose. Yeah, broken loose, but the back of the bolt head is now turning, so I'll be going grabbing what appears to be probably a 16. So now back with an impact. Let's see how well the bolt holds up. Much better. Next, we will move on to the pitman arm. Unfortunately, I think for me, this one has enough power steering drippings on it that the threads are definitely not rusted up. And after breaking it loose, it looks like it's going to come off by hand with no problems. So then last one to pull will be on the driver's side. I believe the torque spec on these is 55 pounds. And with that, it's time to grab the hammer, start giving these things a few gentle taps, get this all out of here. Tie rod ends are being difficult, so I'm going to grab a pickle fork and just get them out of there. So my pickle fork at O'Reilly's, as part of my order, I think was a whole $12. And worth it. To show you exactly how the pickle fork works here, you simply get it kind of between your dust boot, right? It's right here between the dust boot and the steering arm. And that's it. A few taps and it's all out. So overall, I'd say without filming, the removal is maybe a 5-minute job of that. But now that I got it out, we'll hold it up next to the ZJ and the Currie Currectlync, give you guys an idea of the differences here. And before I start comparing, to get a close-up kind of what has happened to this adjustment collar, it looks like over time the clamp still appears to be good and tight, but that's probably the only part of the threads that are still in contact with the drag link. And it looks like as it's rocked back and forth over time, it's spread this and spread the outer end to give it room to just wobble. So and I'm not running that huge of tires. I am on 32s at the moment. So anyway, there's the problem. Now I'll get the solution laid out here. Alright, so laying next to each other, we have factory drag link. This does not change when you use the ZJ tie bar or tie rod, right? So this is factory TJ, which has tie rod ends on each side. And to give you an idea of the difference in sizing between the two, if I can get it positioned just so here, you can see the thread overlap on each side of this one. I mean, maybe it's better to give a view like this, but pretty substantially larger. I mean, the diameter of the shank on this is about the same size as the tie rod on the stock TJ, right? So sitting behind it, directly in line, then is the ZJ tie rod, which does come with one end permanent and the remaining end gets an adjuster sleeve and one of the tie rod ends, right? So then everything else assembles just the same as before. So I'll set this aside and I'll grab the Rock Jock Currectlync and show you the comparison with it. Oh, one other thing before I forget. Stock TJ, hollow tube. ZJ, solid bar. And the entire replacement setup I got with all the parts listed was just at $310 out the door from O'Reilly's, and that includes the pickle fork. My Rock Jock setup was closer to $700 delivered, and that was before the price increase. We have the Rock Jock, right? Currectlync heavy duty, and boy is it. You know, it's been a while since I had this out of the box, because as I said, you have to have 2-inch minimum bump stop addition to run this setup, which I am planning on putting a 3.5-inch on. I'm just not planning on doing it quite so soon. So, and the reason for the minimum 2-inch bump stop increase, this is your pitman arm side, this is your adjusting sleeve, right? So now to compare that to the factory TJ, here's the factory TJ pitman arm side Rock Jock, right? Pretty substantial difference between the two. And as I said earlier, this will be the exact same size as the ZJ setup that I'm putting on, so there's no increase in strength here when you go to the ZJ setup. Now the difference in size between the Rock Jock and the ZJ bars is fairly apparent too. I mean, the size difference between the two is pretty substantial, and you can definitely feel that in just the weight of the bar. Hands down, you want unbreakable on a factory TJ steering link setup. I'd say skip everything else, go to the Rock Jock, buy once, cry once, call it a day, go home. Yeah, that's the key thing, go home from the trail. But this being this old TJ channel, this isn't the only Jeep I own. I have my original Jeep that's getting this, and sitting in the distance under the cover will be the next project Jeep for the channel. But for now, just back to even rod ends, right? Size on these things. I mean, substantially bigger everywhere it counts. It's maybe the same size at the actual tie rod ends, but definitely stronger elsewhere. Let me grab a adjusting sleeve. I'll show you the last real difference here. I do have 2 new adjusting sleeves as part of the current project. So, factory adjusting sleeve, collar. This will be the same adjuster sleeve versus a hollow tube for the ZJ setup, and then adjuster sleeve versus the Currie Currectlync adjuster sleeve. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and cut this one short, and this will be part of the video for the ZJ link project. Then I'll post this separate, link it in the video if anybody wants to just get the short straight scoop on the Rock Jock to ZJ to stock comparison. I am back with everything reassembled on the new setup, so you can definitely see the difference between original and ZJ style. Got all my ends threaded in best as possible, as close to exactly the measurement of the previous bar. Things to remember if you're doing this: put your collars on your adjusting sleeves before you put the sleeve on, and remember that these thread backwards of normal. It's the left hand thread, so you turn them left to thread them in. Managed to get this one really even as far as where the adjusters are, and this is the one that actually adjusts the alignment. on the one for the drag link, I ended up having to get more of the shank on the tie rod end into the adjustment collar than from the actual drag link itself. There's still, I mean, a couple inches in there, but for whatever reason on this adjusting collar, it wants to stop hard right there. I had no way of getting that thing to turn additional, so I gave it the extra inch on this side. But as far as like the amount of shank that sticks out on both sides, it's still fairly close. So now it's time to crawl under there and get this thing all bolted back in. And torque specs, 55 foot-pounds, 55 foot-pounds, 55 foot-pounds, and all of the adjusting sleeves are 36. There we go. All right, that side. Zoom. So next I'm going to go to the pitman arm, which does appear to need more space. I think I'm going to go ahead and tighten up the side to spec that is on the passenger side. I'm going to torque that down to 55, make sure it's drawn up in there well before I start adjusting this one a lot, trying to get it to fit in more easily. I now have passenger side torque down 55 foot-pounds. I started the bolt through the steering stabilizer to get it up in there and hold it in place for me, and somewhat just to hold the adjuster off the ground, because trying to get this back into alignment, it still is off by probably about a half an inch. So instead of trying to turn more of this in, while I was up changing batteries, grabbed the adjuster tool, and I'm determined to get this adjustment sleeve to actually turn. I'll see if I can get it dialed in another half inch or so to take out the slack here. So there's one full turn. And it's still off. So we'll give it another full turn. It's getting closer. I think this time I'm going to take the easy way out. Give the other side a couple more full turns. And that seems like it has almost got it. So I'm going to go one more full turn. And I think that's it. So now the other thing I checked while I was out from underneath here was nut sizes, and all these parts come from Master Pro. A couple of the parts are made in China, a couple are made in India. Not sure where the adjusters were made, but one of the things I found out is I have 3 different nut sizes. One is a 17, one's an 18, and I think I have 2 19s. All right, so that is started. So now it's a matter of go grab a 17 wrench, cinch that down as much as possible, torque it into position. This is definitely all the encouragement I need to go buy myself a set of ratcheting boxed in wrenches. There's hand snug. Now to torque this with the limited clearance, I got a crow's foot 17. I got the one clicks, and I'm just getting it to line up on the hole, which I think it is just about there. And that's a straight shot through, so that part is good. So now, try and finish getting this wrapped up. See, that one was a 17. This one also 17. Now we're still off just a hair on this one. Yeah, still doesn't want to come cleanly in, so we're still off probably a turn. That time it came through pretty cleanly. So we'll start the final nut on here, which I believe this one was the oddball. I think this one's the 18. Again, with this, I'm just hoping my alignment is fairly close, and I do already have an appointment at the alignment shop in 2 days, so I'll take it down there and let them dial in the details. Alright, torque just a little bit farther. And I got the perfect alignment for the cotter pin. Now we have this side torqued down. What I'll do is end up going around retorquing everything one time just to make certain. See, that was the 18. This one's the 19. And since I'm gonna have to get up to get it, I'll just get the other side over here, since I believe they're both 17s. And may be an 18 as well. I'm gonna stop here while I finish getting this wrapped up. Trying to focus on filming and putting together gets distracting. I'll get this wrapped up, show them when it's finished up. Be back soon. I am back. Everything is torqued. Torque is double checked on everything, and everything's good. I went ahead and got all the holes lined up here on the castle nuts, so it shouldn't take a tremendous amount of time to get the pins in. I'm hoping, because I'm fast running out of daylight. The winds are coming up and maybe getting ready to be rained on soon. Well, that one's not going. We'll move along and come back to that in a minute. Hopefully with some light. This one's definitely lined up because I can visibly see the daylight coming through it. And that should be more than adequate to hold that one in place. I can also see daylight coming through the passenger side tie rod end. It's just a matter of getting kind of back behind there and fishing it through, which would admittedly be a lot simpler if the wheels and tires were off. Again, I left them on trying to keep as much of my alignment intact as possible. There we go. That'll hold. Next time I'm rotating tires, I'll make it prettier. But for now, cotter pin is in. So now it's back to the other side. Get the last two in there. Get some grease in all of these. And then it's a done deal. There we go, finally. So the very last thing to do is to get all this greased up. I'm hoping, given the angle of that, I'll be able to get this one without pulling the wheel off. But if not, I'll jack it up and yank the wheels off and do them one at a time just to get them done. So that wraps this one up. Overall, if it hadn't been for the fact that the new parts come with 17, 18, and 19 millimeter size nuts for the same pieces, and if not trying to film while I was doing this, I'd say this job could probably be knocked out in under an hour easily. All right, as long as everything's there. Double check you get all the cotter pins you need. Also double check when you get your parts that they actually do come with the grease certs, because I have got parts before without those, and you don't want to get them on and then find out you don't have it. And they're pretty cheap. I bought a multi-pack just to keep in the toolbox along with my little bin of cotter pins for days like this where I get a part that is missing a cotter pin that, you know, is needed. So anyway, thanks for watching. If you haven't, hit subscribe. Come back later. There'll be more going on soon. Take care. Bye.